Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the Vehicle Owner's Manual for important feature limitations and information.
Right, so it's the turn of the North Staffs and South Cheshire League to get our eyes on, hands off, whatever you want to call it, preview. And joining us to do the preview of this league, we've got a journalist who, without a shadow, is up there in that top 2 or 3 in the country as far as we're concerned when it comes to local cricket and local journalism. We're very lucky to have him on our doorstep as well. And joining us, therefore, is Mr. Chris Travers. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good. You obviously, we're having a couple of weeks off, you guys, aren't you, from getting cracking at the moment, unfortunately?
Yeah, it's been the same for a lot of people. We were supposed to start last Saturday with the Cups, which quickly became apparent that was never going to happen. The league moved that, hoping to start this weekend, but then last week they decided to push it back 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Some of the videos I've been sent, some of the reels I've seen of grounds, there's just ducks on outfields and stuff like that. We're supposed to start May the 4th, but I genuinely think with the weather as it is, there will still be some clubs that will struggle to make that. That's
interesting.
Yeah,
I think we'd say the same in Derbyshire, Hugh, wouldn't we, as well?
Yeah, it's not quite so bad. Again, it's that east-west sort of thing, isn't it? But I think ours was looking all right until probably this week, and then it's we were heading in the right direction, but this week's just let us down, hasn't it? So yeah, I think just taking a pause and not trying to force things is the way forward at the moment. Hopefully things will cheer up. It's certainly the weather has got a bit better, isn't it? But it's just there's so much water about. So I think rather than force games, and then you'll ruin club seasons like I mean, like happened for a fair few clubs last year.
Definitely. I think congratulations to the exec at the North Staffs and South Cheshire, as far as I'm concerned. Decisive straight away. We're going to go back to the 4th of May. None of this, let's see where we're at. They've said give it 2 weeks. And talking to a number of ground staff myself around the league, they've been very happy to have that straight away rather than, we've got to try and rush it for the 27th. And it gives them 2 whole weeks. And let's be honest, if we can't get going on the 4th of May, you start to wonder, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's one of they had to make that decision, but obviously there's a limit to what you can do, and they've just had to say May the 4th, and if it's raining on May the 4th and we don't play for another 2 weeks after that, but they've done their bit. They can't control the weather. They've done all they can realistically to sort of help clubs get ready.
Yeah, you also want decent tracks, don't you? You want decent wickets. You don't want to be forcing out playing Premier League cricket on crap, do you? So no. I think it's the right way to go.
Well, I think we're recording this just before the 20th of April when, if I remember rightly, I think around about half the leagues of the country were due to actually start. And with a day to go, there are now 4 leagues left starting tomorrow in Lincolnshire, Leicestershire, Nottinghamshire and East Anglia. And as Hugh's already said, is that west to east thing. The further west you go, the crapper it's been. But the further east you go, it just seems they've got away with it like murder, haven't they, Hugh?
The forecast for the east is pretty garbage over the next week or two, when actually the west is looking a bit better. So it might all end up in a heap over there as well. But look, let's hope so. I think we've got to be a bit positive about these things. The sun is out. I'm looking out my window now. The sun is out. It's what's gone before, isn't it? It's the weather that's gone before. It's usually a bit dodgy in April. We've got the usual April dodginess, but it's the 9 months prior to been a bit of a problem. So yeah, hopefully. While
listeners can't see this, it's brilliant on Zoom because you literally watch people's faces light up, then get darker as the cloud comes over outside, then it lights up, then again. It's great. We did a recording a couple of days ago, and it was in bright sunshine for all three of us who were on the recording perfectly. The moment I turned it off, it sleeted outside our house. I'd be like, really? You just can't be doing with this, can you?
Yeah. Well, it's the thing you get as well. You get like the programmes. I think was it Gary Barwell at Warwickshire saying the amount of rain they'd had, and they've got probably millions of pounds worth of equipment, and then you have volunteers doing club grounds. Well, if the pros are struggling, what I hope is there for clubs.
I've seen pictures this morning of Derbyshire under 11s versus Trent College on Wednesday, and somebody said to me they played on Astro. So I just assumed they played on an Astro strip, but no, they played on a hockey Astro. They played a county game on a hockey Astro, so with cones and stumps. So I mean, good on them for getting the game on, but yeah, it's that's where we're at.
Hey, let's look forward. We talk about the weather all day, me and you, unfortunately, can't we?
I love it. Yeah,
we haven't got stuck into Dubai yet, have we? But we'll talk about that another time, definitely. Let's look forward to the 2024 season. There's been quite a little bit of movement around the league. Hemheath won it last year, won the Premier League, and it sort of went down to the wire between them and Porthill Park, Chris. But there's a big gap then between Hemheath, Porthill, and Cheadle and Checkley back in third and fourth, isn't there?
Yeah, and it was probably a little bit of a surprise that Hemheath won it last year, at least sort of from outside the club, that they have built steadily over the last few years. I think most people would have tipped Porthill to win it again last year. They'd won 5 of the previous 7 titles and have been a real force. But Hemheath, they've promoted their juniors a lot over the years, and they've got that which you need to win titles. They've got that little bit of star quality in Liam Banks. I mean, they're at pains to sort of say that we're not a one-man team, and okay, they're not solely down to him, but when you've got a player who scores over 1,000 runs at the top of the order and takes 60 wickets with a new ball, then you're pretty much onto a winner. And they had a good overseas last year who was a sort of last-minute replacement for them, Gabe Bell, an Aussie lad, and he sort of more than played his part, and they just got on a roll. And when you thought, well, when's the blip coming? The blip never came.
That's what we found around most leagues that we talk about. Momentum is a massive thing. We were talking to Sawston and Babraham a couple of days ago at the East Anglian League, and there's the opposite. They never got going and just never quite caught up. So I think you're right. They got on that roll, took it to the end. Did it go down? I can't remember. Did it go down to the last day between the two? I think it was just about, wasn't it, down to the last day? But it would have taken a win and a loss basically to sort it out. Clearly, the batting points made a difference to Hemheath as well. They did score 7 more batting points than Porthill, but then they are quite a long way behind Cheadle and Checkley there, and we'll come to who they brought into their sides. But they're quite a long way behind to catch up this season, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite interesting. The top 2 were well clear. I mean, Cheadle finished 3rd last year. If you go down, Audley finished 6th. Audley on the last day, if memory serves, they lost by 10 wickets to Checkley. Well, if Audley had won that, they would have finished 3rd. So that sort of highlighted that, Audley, first year back, would have been happy with 6th, but on the back of one result, it could have been so much better for them.
Yeah, 7 points between 3rd and 6th, but a long way to get up to those top 2. So let's have a look who's been moving during the winter. And I've got some in mind myself. Well, let's turn to you, Chris. Who are the main movers in your eyes joining clubs around and who might make a difference to that season going ahead?
Well, Hemheath, if you start with the champions, Hemheath, they're pretty settled. They've got a new overseas this year. Gabe Bell can't come back this year, so they've signed a lad called Ray Toole, who played for Essex and Durham, New Zealander, quick bowler. So they're pretty settled. They've added him in, so that'll be pretty much the same sort of formula that they're going with. Burslem have won promotion at the first attempt, bounced back, and they've signed Matt Coles, the ex-Kent all-rounder.
Yeah,
who's joined from Penkridge, so he will obviously, if he hits his straps, will be fairly handy. Checkley have made some strong moves as well. They've signed Nils Priestley, who you'll sort of know produced that superb innings for Staffordshire in T20 finals day and was the star man of that competition. He's joined them. Then Meekins, who are another team of court, they've added quite a few players to what is already a strong sort of core. And the sort of standout name is a lad called Sonny Singh, who used to be at Warwickshire, left arm spinner. I think he's been at Smethwick and he's joined. I think he was in the Liverpool comp last year. I think he took 50 or 60 wickets. So they've sort of really strengthened to sort of make sure they're not just coming up to make the numbers up.
I think those moves at Checkley in particular, Niels Priestley, we were laughing with Kettleborough about this a couple of weeks ago. Was he tapped up during the season? Of course he was bloody tapped up. They've been talking to him a while about getting there. And if anything, cementing that with that innings in the T20 final. But they've not brought him in just as a T20 player. They've brought him in there to score runs heavy at the top end of the order right throughout the season, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, yeah. And not forgetting as well, they actually does bowl, especially sort of the
pains to remind me he bowls.
Especially in the win-lose format. He's not probably a conventional left-arm spinner. He probably bowls it a bit quicker, but it's good in the short format. So he'll strengthen their bowling as well. And there'll be a fair bit of, not pressure necessarily, but there'll be some expectations on him, because after what he did for Staffs last year, people will be thinking, well, can he do that every week? Well, the answer is no, because if he did, he wouldn't be playing club cricket, he'd be playing professionally. But he's certainly sort of one to watch, because Checkley they've been there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
They had a bit of bad luck last year. They're overseas last year. Puneet Datti was injured after a handful of games, went back. But you just think with Nils' match winning ability, he's the sort of player that you look at 22 weeks, he wins you 5 games potentially. And if they're sort of games against teams that are up and around you, that can sort of make all the difference.
Yeah, most definitely. If you look at last season, Checkley won 10 games out of 22. They obviously had those number of games that didn't get to play with you. 6 losses. If they could turn half of them into wins, turn half the draws into wins, just with that added extra that they've got in there, that takes them right up there automatically, doesn't it? I think from my perspective, the JG Meekins signings in particular are very interesting. Sonny Singh, he's a player.
Yeah, he can. I remember watching his Staff's debut. I want to say probably about 6 or 7 years ago now, and he played at Himley against Wales, and he came in a run chase, and Staffs had no right to win. They did win in the end. He just came in, strode in, hit his first ball over the score box for 6 at Himley. And it was like, okay, this boy can bat as well as bowl. The issue he'll probably have, it'll take a bit of getting used to, is Meekins' ground is quite small. So he won't be coming in and probably going at 3 and over. He might be having to accept he'll be going at 5s and 6s.
Yeah.
But he's a good player, and they've signed another young lad from Knipersley here in Prem B, Joe Dutton, who's a really highly rated young seamer, just to sort of bolster the new ball department.
And I think they've got big ideas down at Meekins as well, haven't they?
They have, yeah. Been a long-term project that they had with James Menzies as chairman. They were in Division 2 when he properly took over, which would now be Division 3. And they went all the way through up to the Prem, managed to win it. And it was a bit of a surprise. They won it in 2021, then got relegated in 2022. Yeah. But I think pretty crucially, the year they went down, they didn't have Michael Hill. He'd gone back to play in the South, but he came back last year to help them get back up. And they have got the core of the side that's been successful for them in the Premier A, as it's now called. They're still there. And with the new additions, you're not looking at them thinking, will they stay up, won't they? There could be a bit of a force.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You might say all kinds of stuff when things go wrong, but these are the words you really need to remember. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They've got options to fit your unique insurance needs, meaning you can talk to your agent to choose the coverage you need, have coverage options to protect the things you value most, file a claim right on the State Farm mobile app, and even reach a real person when you need to talk to someone. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com's primetime kickoff event. Save up to 50% off select styles, plus doorbusters. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Looking at the batters, Hugh, there's some good numbers in this league, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was fairly consistent towards the top. There wasn't one guy sort of flying away from it.
I picked up on that. It seems to be more consistent than a lot of leagues, doesn't it? There's a good number at the top.
There was a lot of guys sort of there or thereabouts, through the season. But I think Callum Hawkins stood out there. Can you tell us a bit more about Callum Hawkins? A young lad, hasn't he?
Yeah, young lad. Staff's debut last year. He's previously been spent time with Derbyshire, wicket-keeper batsman. He opens the batting for Moddershall. And in the sort of win-lose format, especially, he likes that because he's got basically free rein. And you'll often look at the scorecard an hour and a half after the game started, and Callum, the game might be out, but he's got 75 off 40 balls or something like that. Yeah. He's got all the shots as the youngsters have today, the ramps and all that sort of the scoops and everything, and he's not afraid to use them. So he's a really sort of talented lad.
I think I've got him 19, 20, something like that.
Yes, yeah,
800 runs, 64 runs at 45. But in terms of young lads in the country, there's very few performing at that level. So it'd be interesting to see where he kicks on to. Obviously, he's playing for Staffs, but I don't know if there's any news of him going into sort of a first-class county at all, or getting second-team games. Certainly a real talent there. Just jumping down, James Kettleborough, obviously another great season, 700 runs at 51. And then Liam Banks there, who I think, like you said, is the standout performer on all fronts, 710 runs at 37, striking at nearly 90. So I think those are the top three from last year. And so all three staying put and coming back again.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. You look at someone like Ketts, and he's probably what you call more of a traditional batsman, whereas Callum Hawkins and to a degree Banks are more of the new wave sort of batters. And not to say Ketts can't sort of play all the fancy shots, but I think it just sort of proves that if you've got a good technique and you knuckle down, you can still get runs the old-fashioned way.
Definitely. And can I just give a shout-out to Mr. Kettleborough there, because what people won't see when they look at Premier League is what he did last year overall. And he played 46 games, scored 1,774 runs in all competitions at 55. Yeah, that is a phenomenal amount of runs. And it's a phenomenal amount of cricket, 46 games in a season. I don't think I've found anyone else in the country who played more. And trust me, I look at a lot of these things. So hats off to him. And we've seen him a couple of times in the last few weeks with the NCCA boys. He's as fresh as he always is, and he's ready to go again. He's raring to get stuck in with both Checkley and with Staffs. And there's a bit of a. He wants more from Staffs this year, without a shadow of a doubt. But he's definitely up for it with Checkley this year, isn't he?
I will pick on him, though. I will pick on him because he's at home, he's averaging 70 and away he's averaging 30. So he needs to, I don't know, get an earlier bus or something.
One of your favourite little stats that is here, isn't it?
Yeah. I think there's one other player I want to pick on. There's a guy that jumped out in my stats here, Morgan Murray-Williams from Bagnall Norton. He had 17 innings last year. In 80% of them, he got to 13 or more and averaged 26. So that's probably one of the lowest averages for somebody that's been so consistent in getting over 10. And if he can, concentrate a bit harder and crack on a bit, he could easily average 40, 50. But yeah, so that's so Morgan, sort it out, mate.
I love that sort of stat. They just stand out like a sore thumb when you can pick out on those sort of players, doesn't it, Hugh? But yeah. Let's have a look at the bowlers as well. And obviously, top of the Premier League bowlers last year was Liam Banks with his 48 wickets, I think it was. He just stands out in every shape there, doesn't he, when it comes to number of wickets, economy rate, average. It just stands out across the whole country, really, I think, Hugh.
Well, as a seamer as well, there's I think there's possibly one other seamer that's averaging lower than him in the whole country last season. So to be coming back again, he's still very young. He's a lot younger than me, but he's 24, 25, I think.
He's got plenty.
He's got a lot of years in him and going to be a force to be reckoned with for many, many years. But yeah, those kind of numbers are absolutely outstanding. I've noticed, Chris, the seam, again, compared to some of the other leagues, we've got 4 seamers in the top 6 in terms of wickets last year. So it seems to be a more seam-friendly set of wickets than other parts of the country.
Yeah, it's you often sort of find it's quite interesting. You look just over the border in Cheshire and they can get 300 every week. Batter's paradise. We're more sort of bowler friendly, and obviously there's some clubs that have got good bowling attacks. Obviously they don't do too much to assist the batters in wicket preparation. But yeah, you generally sort of look at our league, and if you get to 200, you're going to win probably 7 times out of 10. Whereas if you got to 200 in the Cheshire League, you wouldn't win a game. So it's bowler friendly over this way.
Very good. Yeah, the two lads I assume they're two overseas, Raghu Sharma and Shatindra Pereira, they're Longton and Port Hill in there with the wickets last year. So they both overseas, were they?
They're both overseas, and just to sort of contradict what we said, both spinners as well.
Any of those coming back?
Raghu isn't. He's not coming back. Sachi's coming back, but he's not going to Port Hill. He's going to Newcastle and Hartshill in Premier League.
Okay.
They had their pro pulled out. Newcastle's scheduled pro pulled out probably, I'd say, a month ago, and then Sachi has signed for them for this season. So it'll be a bit of a handful in Prem B. The link being that there's quite a few Port Hill lads now at Newcastle, including sort of Ryan Hassett's gone this winter from Port Hill to Newcastle, and Ryan was one of the mainstays of Port Hill winning those 5 titles.
I picked out this morning, I picked out a young lad in Newcastle Hartshill, Rohan Valbaheni, a 16-year-old that seems to be going very well, and he's at Newcastle and Hartshill. So they're in Prem B this season, are they? So it'd be interesting to see how he kicks on.
Yeah, I think he's Denston College as well. I think he's just come back from. I think they've just come back from Barbados.
They sure have.
Yeah,
decent pre-season that was.
Yeah, he's going to be a hell of a player because he's been playing over his age group or under his age group, whatever it is, for the last few years. He's consistently scoring runs through the age groups. Just peeking into sort of Prem Div 1 cricket last year. So, averaging 20 last year, you could see him averaging 40 plus this year if things are going well.
And he's one of those at Newcastle, one of the big clubs in terms of that they have a pathway. So 4 teams, you start at the bottom, you move your way through, and sort of Rohan's done that. He's moved through, which is good for them because obviously the next generation coming through can see that someone has made that journey and they can aspire to sort of follow it.
Absolutely.
That's good. I think one of the things I picked up looking at the previous year's stats, in particular in this league, very unusually, you've got 2 all-rounders in the top 5 or 6 for both batting and bowling. You've got Liam Banks, but you've also got Zen Malik. Both Staffordshire NCCA players, and both absolutely phenomenal, both with the bat and the ball. We're breeding some really good quality all-rounders there, aren't we?
We are, yeah. Zen's, when you watch Zen bat, it's just absolutely fantastic. He obviously went to Malvern College on a bit of a scholarship, was part of Worcester Academy. It didn't work out for him. He has been trialling for the last couple of years at first-class counties, but obviously when he's not been doing that, he's been playing for Staffs. And it's not just his batting. I mean, I think for Staffs, he'd average north of 50 quite comfortably, but he bowls leg spin. And last year for his club league, when we were sort of sat here watching sort of the rainfall and the wickets being seamer friendly, I think Zen got 2 5-wicket hauls in the first 3 matches with his leg spin, which was sort of defied logic really. But he's also probably the best fielder in the league as well. I mean, he's absolutely superb fielding in the covers, and there's a lot of times that unsuspecting batsmen will take a single to him and you just sort of shake your head at them and think you've made a mistake there, son.
It's nice to watch from the sidelines.
Yeah. And notice, there's a lot of Staffs play. The lack of the first class county really benefits the league because, if you go down that list, all these guys there playing Staffs cricket, there's a big chunk of Staffs cricket. It's not overloaded with overseas dominating the leagues. It's these serious cricketers playing national counties as well as for their club side. So it's a really strong, it really breeds for a really strong league.
Yeah. And I think it's sort of one of that, we might be slightly biased in these parts, but I think you look at someone like Ketz and you look at Zen, and it is a mystery, especially with Zen, why he's not on first class books, because I think with both of them, there's probably worse players who have got pro contracts at first class counties than Ketz and Zen.
I notice on a relatively weekly basis these sort of situations, these players, and you do scratch your head. It's tough, isn't it? It's all out in the open. It's all there. Everyone can judge everybody else, but there are players out there, and you're just thinking, how are you not playing pro? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's right place, right time for a lot of these people.
It is, and we picked up even this week alone the amount of NCCA players who've been playing second 11 cricket, who we just know they are so close to being on that cusp. And there'll be players playing in the county championship week in, week out, who I'd like to think they were looking over their shoulder a little more than they actually do, because there's some top players in these Premier Leagues and NCCA.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a right at the top, you've got the test team, and it's the test team is set there. We've got these players, these are our guys, we're going to back them. And then you've got the counties, well, these are our guys, we're going to back them. And then you get the second team, right, you got one game, lads. If you cock it up, you're out. All right, we'll move on to another county. Right, one game or you got to perform. And it doesn't work. It doesn't seem to connect up. You can't expect people to just come in 1-2 games. They're under huge pressure. They need to feel part of the environment. So for me, it doesn't seem to work at second team level. It doesn't seem to encourage elite performances, which is what you want. It just seems to be a bit of a churn.
I think I noticed this week as well, which is about second 11 cricket, because there's always that debate about, is it better for a player to play second team or first class county or an NCCA game when there's proper points at stake? And you look this week and you think, Somerset, Michael Vaughan's son opened the batting and got 60 odd for them. He opened the batting with Jack Leach, who didn't bowl. You think, well, why is Jack Leach playing in the second team game and not bowling and opening the batting? It just sort of defeated the object, really. They must have another young batsman or someone else to open the batting there.
Yeah. Got a test 100.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good retort, Hugh. Yeah. I think that's telling Chris Travers. What do you know? He's got a test 100. He must be good. No, you're right. I think everyone who seems to jump from NCCA to second team cricket, they get 1 or 2 games. But then when you see these NCCA guys together as their squad, as the staff squad, the Berkshire squad, the Buckingham squad, they are operating at quasi first-class county level in the way they train, the way they prepare. They're doing all that, and they are a squad. Whereas when they go to play for Sad Pereira was playing down at Kent this week. I don't know how many times he's met those lads at Kent before, but he's walked into that dressing room, he's gone in there, is he ever going to beat them again? That's a strange way to operate, isn't it, compared to when he gets to play with Berkshire?
Yeah, I think the thing...
I forgot Jack Leach. He didn't get to 100, did he? Is it 92?
Yeah. I think the thing is as well, with if you sort of have, like, for example, Staffs or Berkshire or Bucks, say you are a group, you're a gang, you're all teammates. Whereas at second team level, especially if you're on trial, you're almost hoping the bloke at the other end fails. It's almost like 11 individuals.
Good point.
Because you want the contract. You want to I hope he does get a first baller and I get 100 because that's me. Yeah. Whereas if you're with Staffs, if you get out first ball, you're still hoping that your teammate gets 100 because you're helping your county.
Hey, let's look at the back of the Premier League, North Staffs and South Cheshire, and the pros and the overseas who are there this year. There's been some changes around the league, Chris, but not as many as maybe in some areas. Who stands out for you as the pros and the overseas to watch in that league? For people
I think I've mentioned him before, Matt Coles, who's gone to Burslem. He's obviously hugely talented. With bat and ball, and I think he's playing for Bedfordshire again this year in the NCCA. Burslem have lost a couple of players, and I think they're, without sort of pinning it all on Matt Coles, their season will sort of be shaped by how he goes. If he can sort of live up to his reputation and deliver the sort of stats you'd sort of expect from him, they could have a half-decent season. One of the interesting ones is a lad called Warwick Finn, who's gone in at Stone, who played briefly for Shropshire. He's moved from Wolverhampton. He's their pro. They've not gone overseas or anything like that this year. And I think, again, how Stone fare will be all on sort of Warwick's shoulders.
And he could be a good acquisition, though, to take them from that sort of middle table. It
is, and it's that they've got some good players. Stone. I think consistency's one of their big things. They've got a lad at the top of the order called George Horbrook, who's played there for a while, and he's probably one of the most destructive batsmen on his days. George can quite easily churn out a 35 ball 100, and you'll often see Stone being 60 for naught off 3 on a Saturday afternoon. It's like, George is 58 not out. Is that right?
And that's in a time game.
Yeah, it's just like, to be fair, George, it doesn't matter whether it's red ball format or sort of win-lose format. George just see ball, hit ball.
Yeah, I plucked him out of the stats earlier, George. Strike rate of 107 opening the batting, and that's with his failures in there. Averaging only 25, but 450 runs. So, there's no fear there. He's just going for it, isn't he? He's just really setting the standard. And if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. But it's, there's not many openers anywhere in the country with that kind of strike rate.
No, he's the sort of player that you put him down to win you 2 or 3 games a year, especially win-lose format, because if George gets off to a flyer, Stone can post thick end of 300 and halfway that's game over, regardless of what happens. So it's, he's certainly a good man to have in your armoury.
And in the top 15 batters last year, just looking at that strike rate, he's 20 runs strike rate ahead of anybody else in the top 15.
Yeah.
That's a massive difference for an opener in any league whatsoever, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's not the sort of player where, like I said, he's not the sort of player where you'll see an opposition's overseas come on or their sort of best bowler come on and think, I'll have a look for a couple of balls or treat them with respect. It's sort of like, there's a bloke bowling a ball at me from 22 yards. Where can I put it?
The ball's the same size. It's coming from the same place. I'm just going to hit it.
Yeah, that's basically George's mantra.
Yeah, guess who I'm going to go and watch sometime this season, Hugh?
Yeah, it'd be good fun. Well, 20% of his innings, he gets 40 or more. The rest of them, 24 or less. So, yeah, he's basically failing, sort of, if we talk failure as less than 20, he's failing half the time. But when he's getting in, he's going big. Well, not necessarily going big, but scoring quickly. His top score, I think,
104.
So yeah, just really doing well.
So all he's got to do is just tweak that little bit to go, that extra 5 innings in the season where he gets up above that. That'll make a substantial difference for Stone, won't it?
Yeah, I think the thing with George, they won't want to change him. They'll sort of take him as he comes. I think it's one of those for you, George. Just you got off to a flyer. Just take your time now. It kills what he is as a player. I think you just sort of ride with it and accept that 3 innings out of 5 he might get single figures, but then the other 2 he might get a quick fire 40 that turns the game, or a sort of match winning 70 or 80.
There's a few people made a living as test players doing that, though, haven't they?
And still doing it, yeah.
Exactly. Hey, let's look at the clubs who you think may shock a few people this year, Chris. There's always someone who you go, they should have been higher up than they were last year. Maybe it's one of the teams that are coming up, or is it one of those middle rankers, inverted commas, who are going to get that extra runs, those extra wickets this year? Who do you think is going to shock people this year?
I think it would be a shock to some degree, but probably not in others. But I think Meakins, there's absolutely no reason why Meakins, having come straight back up, can't win it.
Well,
which normally
22 is a blip.
Yes, yeah. I mean, normally a team coming up, you'd sort of give in football terms, well, let's cement and let's build and let's do that. But with the side they've got a new captain this year. So as long as sort of he gets to grips with things pretty quickly, which I think he will do, there's no reason why they couldn't at least challenge. I think if you said now to Meakins, you'll be outside of the top 3 or 4, they'd be hugely disappointed.
Yeah.
Leek are another one. They've been a funny side. They've been sort of down near the bottom last few seasons, and it looked like they were going to go last year, and their season sort of turned in the space of 2 or 3 weeks, really. They won the last 2 games to stay in the league, finishing 3rd bottom, and also won the Talbot Cup. So it was a season that could have been relegation, and disappointment ended up with survival and a piece of silverware. Been a bit of a mystery, really, with the players they've got, why they struggle so badly.
And a long-term strong setup, good club behind the scenes, everything's been... that was the shock for me, seeing them so close to going down last year, and they survived by 1 point in the end, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think they've obviously got Alex Mellor, who used to play for Staffs, and obviously Zen Malik is there. And they've strengthened this year. There was a lot of pressure potentially on Zen and Alex to get the bulk of the runs, and the opposition played on that. If you can get those 2 out, then that's sort of half the job done, really. But they've signed a Bangladesh batsman as their overseas, Shamsur Rahman, who I think's got a Test 100. He was at Burslem last year, so he's joined. They've also signed the Moulton brothers. Tom, who plays for Staffs, has joined from Checkley, who's a top order batter and bowls seam. I think he got 100 for his university against one of the first class counties a few weeks ago. And then his brother Lewis has joined from Moddershall and Alton. Lewis is a seamer. And they've also got Rory Hayden, who's returned to the club. They've got a long sort of family link with the club. Yeah. He's been playing at Kenilworth Wardens as part of his link up with Warwickshire, but he's now back at Leek. And you just think, well, they've now got the ingredients of being a good team. But then again...
Is Rory going to play for Staffs?
Yes, he played last year. And he's going to play this year as well. So you just think they've added a lot
to the bowling there, haven't they?
They have, but they probably needed it, I think, just to spread the workload, and there's just less pressure now batting-wise in terms of having Shamsur in as overseas. It's probably not one of those that frees up Alex a little bit more, rather than him having to think, well, if I get out, we're not going to post a score, I'm just going to have to bat 50 overs.
Okay. So looking forward, we're looking at Leek, who came 10th and avoided relegation by 1 point. JG Meakins as potential people who might shock people in particular. In the top 6, can you see it really change? Is it just going to be it's going to be that top six, really. And unless one of those other clubs jumps in there, it's just going to be a long-term battle for 22 weeks throughout the season.
It is. I think it's probably going to be, and speaking to a lot of the captains, they've sort of said that in past years you looked at it and you went, it'll be between Portil and Meekins. And that was sort of, that became very difficult when you're sort of writing a pre-season supplement for your predictions going, well, it'll be Portil or Meekins for 4 years on the trot. This is genuinely the most open it's been for many, many seasons.
Brilliant.
I think you like, obviously, Hemheath as defending champions. Be interesting to see how they go. Is it more difficult to win it or more difficult to defend it? Depends which side of the fence you sort of sit on. Checkley, I think they've got a great chance. Meekins will. Portil will as well. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of clubs that have sort of real justifiable claims that, hang on, we can sort of mount a challenge here.
Be a good season to watch, definitely. So let's get to the crux of it. You're going to put your head on the line. Who's going to win it?
It's a toss-up between Checkley and Meekins. I'll probably go Meekins.
Oh, Checkley or Meekins. So Chris Travers chooses between Checkley, who came fourth last year, JG Meekins, who've been promoted to take over Hemheath and Portil at the top. That's probably going to be, Hugh, the wildest prediction we get across 32 Premier Leagues.
Well, we can wait and see. But yeah, there's certainly a punt there. I mean, it's a shame we can't bet on this. I mean, you've got Bet365 in staffs, haven't you, lurking somewhere? Let's go and see if we can
You think if they were going to start club cricket betting, they've got to
I can see that
they?
ending well, yeah. But yeah, let's go and have a word with Mrs. What's-her-name at Bet365 and see if we can put some money on. There we go. I
think I did tip Meekins to defend their crown the season they got relegated there as well.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Very good.
Oh, I'm going to lower the tone and say, oh, shit, Chris. Really?
Yeah, I think it's probably one of those. I said, I was half right. I think I said in the prediction, if you finish above Meekins, you'll win the league. And they finished 11th. So whoever, I was half right.
That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me, definitely. What are you looking forward to, Chris? It's been a long, wet, grey winter. What are you looking forward to personally?
Just getting back out there. It's obviously personally work from home, so you stare out the window in October and November, and it's dark when you start work and dark when you finish work. But just to go out there, see some sort of good cricket. It's going to be quite exciting this year, like we said, because in the past there's been games where you thought, well, that's an easy home win, that's an easy away win. It could be not a season of upsets, but there's going to be some really close fought games, which is obviously going to bring the best out of clubs and hopefully then sort of help sort of staffs further down the line with sort of players pushing for selection that way.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a league, the Premier League here, that everyone can beat everyone. There's no two ways about it. And whereas one or two clubs did get left a little bit behind last year, I can't see that happening quite as easily this year. So it'd be great to keep in touch, Chris, and I'm sure we'll chat during the season and see what the crack is and see if anyone's creating any of those shocks, or is it just are the Bankses and the Zen Maliks just basically running away with it for everyone again, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting, like I say, just not picking on them especially, but you could see Stone in 7th last year, big club around these parts. If they didn't get off to a good start, they could struggle. Longton in 9th, they've traditionally sort of been a strong side. I think they won the title 3 times in a row in the early 2000s. They don't get off to a good start. You could see this season one of the traditionally big clubs in the area fall through the sort of trapdoor.
Exciting!
What a perfect place to leave it, Hugh. Like that.
Very good.
Yeah, we'll be clipping that, won't we, somewhere down the line? And if we don't clip it now, I'll keep the recording until September when we come back and go, so how was that season, Mr. Travers?
Yeah. I'll be a wanted man by clubs.
Oh, don't worry. I think me and Hugh are trying to aim for that status around the country at the moment, aren't we? Hey, thanks for your time, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
No worries.
Thanks for listening to the Premier League Cricket Show. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes and stay updated on all the latest news, views and discussions from around the cricket's Premier Leagues. And be sure to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at TPL Cricket Show on both. Join the conversation, share your thoughts and connect with us and your fellow Premier League cricket fans. And hey, if you enjoyed the show, why not show us some love? Leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast platform, as it helps other potential listeners to find us when they're searching for cricketing podcasts. Thanks again for being part of the Premier League Cricket Show family, and until next time, have a good one.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.